I'm creating a new genre in gaming. You've heard of a few recent genres, Souls-likes, Stardew Valley-likes, there are even Skyrim-likes. Not one of those. I'm talking about creating the very first Viva Piñata-like. Viva Piñata, the game beloved by many, but never heard of by most. If you watch gamedev YouTube, you've seen what I've seen. New devs are met with a forked path early on. Either make a worse-off version of Stardew Valley, or try to solo develop a first-person shooter, which is likely never going to compete with the heavy hitters, no matter how far they fall. Instead of falling into these traps, I'm carving my own path, hence the rise of the Viva Piñata-like. If you've never heard of Viva Piñata, you missed out on a great core childhood gaming experience. If you have, you might remember this game coming as a surprise gift from your parents on Christmas morning, but being gifted to your sister in an attempt to balance out all of your wicked sick testosterone-filled games like Jak and Daxter and Halo 2. Uh-oh, did I just assume your gender? Not really, based on my YouTube stats so far. So, let's talk about Viva Piñata. Viva Piñata has an overly cutesy art style, not a whole lot of action, and it eases its players in slowly and carefully with a very laid-back tutorial progression. This was an Xbox exclusive released in 2006, followed by an expanded sequel in 2008. In addition to its cozy piñata collecting gameplay, the game has a strange-looking cast of characters who are apparently humans that permanently wear masks, and it's riddled with obscure lore theories. I'm actually not sure what's weirder, the fact that we run a piñata harvesting operation, or the lore deep dives that are scattered around YouTube and Reddit. Despite all of that, Viva Piñata provides one of the most peaceful gaming experiences out there. I have not run into a game that could even come close to its experience. This might just be a lack of exposure. I'm not exactly a cozy game player. When I played Stardew Valley, I was one of those players that turned Pelican Town into an industrial powerhouse. Viva Piñata doesn't fit neatly into one genre. It could definitely be called a cozy game, but it's not really like the others, and that wasn't really a genre back when this was released. It has some gardening elements, but it's not a farming game. There are predator-prey relationships, but it's not really an ecosystem simulator. I think the most appropriate subgenre for it would be a creature collector. There's a certain rush you get from attracting a new animal to your garden, and then subsequently realizing that this new animal is a key piece into attracting the next, bigger, or more valuable one. There's a sense of awe in discovering a secret way to evolve a piñata, like getting the two-headed snake or the flying pig. Pokemon is probably the best example of a creature collector game, with a similar rush when a Pokeball locks or when evolving a new Pokemon. In Pokemon, unless you're playing as a completionist, there's very little motivation to actually go and gotta catch 'em all. But in Viva Piñata, every animal serves a relatively unique purpose and may be necessary to get before you can progress to the more advanced animals. Now, I'm not aiming to make a one-to-one Viva Piñata clone. One, there's already a group doing that as a fan project, and two, given that I work alone, I'd probably never finish something scoped to be just like it. I mainly want to preserve the core gameplay loop that I've discussed, where you progressively build up a garden ecosystem. This progression is fueled by being able to attract new species and unlocking new supplies as you gain experience. I'd also like to draw inspiration from some other games. I'm inspired by one mechanic from Ark Survival Evolved. It's a massively different main genre, being a dinosaur survival action game, but it does fit the creature collector subgenre. There are a number of Ark dinosaurs that you want to collect to help you with your mundane tasks. The Ankylosaurus can collect huge amounts of stone, the Eagle Thing carries your ground dinos, and the Evil Murder Chicken does like 8 different things better than you can. I think that having some of the animals that you collect in my game fill specific tasks, maybe like watering plants, could be a fun mechanic to explore. It seems better to me than Viva Piñata's hired helpers, who always felt out of place to childhood me. I'd also like to lean heavier into simulation. In Viva Piñata, the population management and mating systems were really simple. Once you had tamed something, you basically had full control of when it reproduced, and it was removed from the pool of potential visitors once you had 2 or more. I don't have a great game example for exactly how I'd put in more simulation elements, but I might revisit Thin Matrix's Equilinox series, which is a really good set of devlogs, to see what I can learn about simulation-style games. So, how am I going to make this game? Viva Piñata's rule-based system for piñatas visiting, becoming residents, then mating is a key part of its gameplay. Let's just go over a few examples. For the mouse, one of the earliest piñatas, to visit, a turnip needs to be in the garden. To join, it needs to have eaten a turnip. For the snake to visit, you need some grass and at least 2 mice in the garden. For the snake to then join, it needs to additionally eat a mouse. You can see how these requirements build on each other pretty naturally. Let's quickly look at a later game piñata. The horse, which is the title character, needs a panaki in the garden and a whole lot of grass. I think the panaki is a pony. Having ponies and horses implies that piñatas can be selectively bred, by the way. Anyways, to visit, it then needs to eat 8 apples, which could take multiple days to do. If you watched my earlier video, you know I already created a planning AI framework for driving NPCs. This same system can be adapted to work as the rule-based system that's needed here. If an animal's goal is to become a resident, but the actions to do so are barred by these simple gameplay checks, we automatically get the behaviors we want. I can build this game by developing on top of really strong system foundations like my planning framework. Using these systems, I'll need to plan out a straightforward and engaging progression that builds up layers of conditions to attract new animals. Other systems will drive the interactions between animals, or between animals and food sources or shelter. An interesting system in Viva Piñata that acts as a sub-mechanic is the predator-prey interactions. The earliest example is seen in mice and snakes. Snakes are attracted to mice and need to eat them to join the garden. But mice are much less likely to join if snakes are living in the garden. It then becomes a balancing act to maintain a snake and a mouse population simultaneously. Or it would be if everything didn't become friendly and if you couldn't use the heart candies to skip a lot of the requirements after you've done them once. So, where am I at so far with development? Admittedly, not that far. First off, I made a new framework for creating intelligent game AI called GD Planning AI. I covered how I was making it in an earlier video, and since then I've released my code on GitHub and as a Godot add-on/plugin. I'm gradually updating it to be more user-friendly and feature-complete. Check it out if you're interested. I'll release an overview and tutorial video soon, just as soon as I've worked out multi-threading, which is much harder than I'd originally thought. Then I decided to play around with the art style early, so I have nice things to show here, and to help myself determine an overall style. I made a set of shaders to try and land on an original vision. This looks somewhat like Viva Piñata's art style, but not so cutesy, and obviously not to where everything is a piñata. I made a custom grass shader that flows with the wind. This is similar to the ones you could easily find online, but I added some extra lighting effects and an overlay texture that gives the grass colors some variety. The grass shader is definitely inspired by Viva Piñata's grass and gives a good visual connection between my game and its inspiration. I posted some visuals on Reddit without mentioning Viva Piñata, and someone even brought up the similarity. I'm also working on my first creature, the worm. Story-wise, this will be one of the easiest creatures to bring in, just like in Viva Piñata where worms and birds serve as the earliest tutorial. I visually prototyped it to determine the style, just to see what I could do, 1, to make it look nice, and 2, to come up with an artistic flow that is simple, fast, and easily reproducible, so that all my models can share a similar style. For coloring, I made it so that I can just collapse the UVs of each region and then map it to a pixel on a texture. This makes it so that I don't have to paint any textures, and my texture information file is actually very small. Also, I could palette swap the animals really easily like this. When I brought it into Godot, I customized a toon shader to make the model not look so flat. By calculating the rim of the mesh, I can make a simple outline. I made toon diffuse lighting with a few distinct steps, and multiplied the topmost step to appear lighter. Specular lights are really diminished, just so that the worm doesn't look like it's made out of glass. I've been playing around with using screen space textures for certain regions of the worm, but I'm not quite happy with it yet. This was inspired by the art style from Chowder, which I've always thought was very creative, and I'm definitely going to try and bring in some way. Yeah, that's pretty much it so far. Next time I'll probably have a few animals made, and a few of the systems to attract them and get them to join the player's patch of land. If it sounds interesting, please subscribe and follow along. See ya!